Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 22 of Podfluxxx. Ricky looks less than thrilled. That's the face of a man who looks like he watched two pay-per-views this weekend, but we're all smarter than that because we know this is the face of a man that watched two pay-per-views this weekend. I might still be watching the second one. That's neither here nor there. Ricky, we've had a wild last few days since we've last hit the run the gimmick. Uh,
Yes. A couple things we didn't even touch on were the two deaths last week,
right.
Terry Funk and Bray Wyatt, it's been a roller coaster of I don't know, it's just so much weird things happening. Um, with stuff like the Terry Funk. Like I mean, he was on a bit of a downward
He
slide.
was he was an older
Yeah,
man. Also,
right. With the Bray Wyatt thing, man, that just sucked. It's just weird, like when guys, I don't know, I'm finding it more and more odd. The guys in my generation now are, our generation, like guys are passing away. And before,
yeah,
when you first start and you hear, oh, this, so and so from the 70s that died, you're just kind of like, who cares?
yeah.
Now it's like, hey, I kind of knew him, or I remember
Or
seeing.
that motherfucker was younger than me.
Yeah, that's
That's
the scarier part, right?
right.
Um, it's just I don't know, it's crazy, and then everything that's happened, so much wrestling crammed into the last 10 days, I guess maybe. You could say it was just so much going on.
I've uh I've personally watched so much wrestling in the last 2 weeks that I'm really, really, really just almost completely over it.
Yeah.
I'm at a point where I'm willing to check out on AEW altogether. More on that later.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're just gonna hit a couple of high points here, like we were saying before we press the red button, and then we're gonna talk about some uh, hot button topics. There is only one,
Right.
but so I just want to start with Payback from Saturday night. Uh, Payback, WWE Payback Saturday night was way better than it had any right to be.
Yep.
Like it came together as far as on their TV. It was like they almost built it worse than AEW's built any of their pay per views over the last year. It
Yeah.
was just like it might as well have been like NXT No Mercy on Tuesday, like.
Yeah.
But it was actually it was a pretty good show. Becky Lynch and Trish Stratus opened the show with a 20-minute steel cage match. Ricky, that was goddamn incredible.
Yeah, I watched after you tweeted that it was actually good. I went and watched it.
Oh, you did? What'd you think of the
Yeah,
cage?
I thought it was good. Yeah. Um, I never really understood that. What's that girl's name that comes in?
Zoe Stark.
Yeah. Uh, I don't understand why they brought her up of all the girls in NXT.
Right.
Uh, I just because I know they did. I know they were doing the angle where she was helping Trish or whatever. She was like her muscle or whatever. Um, I just she did nothing for that finish except I guess to turn Trish right before she leaves, I guess
Right.
was the whole point in it, which I understand, but I just thought you could have brought up a much better heel uh that could do something after.
I feel like her call up was based predominantly on her size. If you look at
Yes.
all the other girls that got called up from NXT recently, they're
Yeah.
all, microscopic
Yeah.
little things, and then they bring up another girl who maybe you can throw in there to mix it up with Raquel and with Rhea. So I feel like that was the reason for her call up, but she is uh, greener than a pepper tree.
Yeah, and the problem with that is she gets a Trish Stratus rub.
Right.
So where do you go? She's not very good to begin with. That's what I was saying is she looks too robotic. You can tell she was nervous at the end. Um you could tell like she was like waiting for her cue or whatever you want to say. But with that type of mega star rub, you need to put it on somebody that's going to be able to run with that and hopefully do
Capitalize.
something. Yeah, besides the fact that she's bigger, it's almost irrelevant because a good heel doesn't need to be the bigger person, just needs to be the more vicious and willing to take shortcuts. So I would have invested in like I don't even know a lot of the girls in NXT, but I mean, what about that Nikki chick, the one that does all the crazy kicks? She's a bigger chick. Like she does that big split, the split
Oh,
pin.
Nikita Lyons.
Yeah, like
She blew an ACL or
oh,
a
okay. I knew she
I
was
think it was
hurt a
an
while back. I didn't know it was that serious. So okay.
yeah.
Or what about that Gigi girl? She could have came in trying to be a bigger star than Becky or a bigger star than Trish at the end of this whole thing. Would have made more sense to have Trish, turn on her just because like the attitude or whatever. I just think you'd need a more well-rounded wrestler in that position that could take that kind of angle and make it work. So
You know why I'm smiling, right?
no.
It's just because the two other females that you mentioned to bring up instead are the two on the roster with uh the dunkiest of badunks that WWE has to offer. And it's funny how they both came to your head.
Oh, they're there.
Yeah,
Um, I know what moves the needle,
right.
as they say.
It's good. It's clearly fat
Vince, call
asses.
me. I'll produce
Yeah,
all your shows. Don't
yeah.
worry. Everything will be up.
The next thing that was on this show is I don't want to talk so much about the Miz and the LA Knight match. I thought they had a good match.
Yeah.
LA Knight is super duper duper retarded over. Uh, I good night. I think it's hysterical that Hollywood goes on strike, the writers and the actors, and Cena's like, "Hey man, I got 11 weeks in a row I can give you," and he's just like, "Oh, John's back." I don't know if anybody else
It's
put
good for
that together.
business. It's good for business.
Yeah.
I mean, supposedly once they announced them, right? Like tickets kind of
Yep.
flew anyways. So I mean, that's the beauty in the WWE is if and when those type of guys come back, it's a swelled audience. Everyone gets looked at a little bit more,
Right.
and since they're not all whiny little bitches in the back, they all realize, hey, this is big business for everybody. Let me go out there and do my thing. So
Who do you think he's going to
it,
work with?
I don't know. I was wondering the same thing. You gotta. I mean, I'm gonna assume because he's on the house show loops too. Did you see that? Like
Yes.
he's back. Yeah. So I'm figuring they're gonna do a couple tags to get his timing back. I would imagine. So maybe you team him with LA Knight against the Miz and somebody else on
It's
house show runs.
it's funny because I remembered Cody saying something after John's last appearance that he was like, "Hey man, you got one of those in you for me?"
Oh
And
yeah.
apparently Cena was like, "Nah, I don't think I got that in there for you," or
Uh-huh.
whatever. And now here he is, and I'm wondering if Cody's like, "Wait, but let me, like." But I
That
don't
would
know.
be interesting, but again,
It doesn't
like
work.
they don't like that face versus face thing. That's just been bad ever, and especially in WWE, it doesn't work. It may work in other places, but it does not work for the WWE audience because they're
Right.
kids. It's like a younger audience, so they don't understand it.
Did you see all of Payback? Did you see
Yeah,
Mysterio,
yeah,
Austin Theory?
yeah, yeah.
What
Yeah.
were your thoughts there?
I liked it. I mean, Theory's the guy. I don't care what anybody says.
Mm-hmm.
they're, he's so young right now. They don't have to be, everyone's like, oh, like he was US champ. Now he's going to be the world champ. It's like, it doesn't really work that way. He needs to go through a couple big feuds. I think, and like maybe challenge at some point, but then obviously not win, and then kind of reset him from there. But he's good, man. Like he's really, physically, and he appears to be mentally just built for WWE. Like I think he understands WWE wrestling. There is a style there that he is, familiar with, obviously, and he's good at. So, I mean, I thought it was good. I don't know what they're gonna do with this with Rey thing. I don't really pay too much attention to it, but
I like the fact that Rey gave him the kind of match where after Rey beat him, it didn't. I don't think it hurt Austin Theory. It was the masterfully put together.
Right. Yeah, but that's what I mean by Theory. He's so young, he can move along with that match where he doesn't look out of place. Because doing that style match with Rey is like putting a puzzle together, piece by piece. Everything has a meaning, and you're moving that thing along, with each section. So he didn't skip a beat. He looks amazing. I think he still needs to find himself. I think,
right.
And that comes in time. That comes in time for everybody. But I'm sure they're really. He's clearly like the next guy. I think,
The next match was the Judgment Day versus Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. Where are you at on this one?
I liked it. I didn't hate it. Kevin got busted open pretty nasty, right? Yep. Did you see that?
Yeah.
I don't know what I did, but I left the living room and came back, and he was just gushing, and I was like, holy shit, like that was out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden it was gone, but I don't know how that happened, but it was good. It wasn't anything crazy. I mean, that's what you expect from those guys. I thought everybody was going to be solid all the way around. I kind of was hoping they were going to put the belts on them, so I'm glad they
did. That needed a big change of pace there. I've been saying that for months.
Yes.
That swanton out of the balcony.
Oh man, did he? It looked like he messed up his elbow or something.
Dude,
I don't know.
He only really hit with like from the high point of his shoulder blades and
shoulders. He basically just took a bump to his tailbone to the floor.
Yeah,
man. I first saw it and I was like, well, that looked a little rough. Then they kept replaying it and it looked worse and worse. And I was like, oh my God, someone go check on him. Like, yeah, that was nasty.
And then the next match, I'm not going to lie. I would normally be all about watching a Rhea Ripley and Raquel Rodriguez match, but I wasn't into it. I was tired.
I watched it and yeah, Raquel is not on that level yet. I know she's got the size. I'm sure they have high hopes for her, but this exposed her for how green she still is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So I know she trained here in Texas, but I don't know how much she worked, before she got that call. She didn't look comfortable. It was complete. It was like a pro versus an amateur in there. It really was. On that note, Rhea Ripley is pound for pound probably the best women's wrestler right now. Yeah, man. That girl can do it all. As a heel, she was in there working to get Raquel over by how her body movement was and what the things that she was selling and the way she was selling was so good. Like Ricky Steamboat, like Jake the Snake. I mean, like she had like Raquel would hit her and she would just stagger and it was just so good. And then she wouldn't return the favor, right? Then Rhea would hit her and it looked like a robot, like deer on ice. And I'm like, oh man. So I thought maybe she'll get her groove, maybe she'll get going. And she just never did.
Right.
Meaning, and I noticed she was blown up at the end because that match went for a while, which I did not expect it to. It
Yeah,
went longer
17
than it should.
minutes.
Yeah, longer than it should have. Yeah, and Raquel cannot work at that level, at that pace for that long. There's a big difference between opening one to three match, numbered matches, and then the main event match, or we are going to become the main event, type of match, show stealing match.
Right.
Uh, there's a different pace. There's a different style. She is not at that level yet. Not to say she won't be, but I think this match for pro wrestlers that watch this can see, oh, okay, like the big difference between a main eventer and then someone who's trying to get there.
And it was just more kudos to Rhea Ripley, but you can tell
Yes.
that she was covering.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
She was like cutting corners for Raquel
Yeah.
to try and keep her exposure at a minimal.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
She was all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she was here, she was there, moving around, making everything huge, putting herself in all of these positions for Raquel Rodriguez, and Raquel Rodriguez is just like,
she was blown up.
Yeah.
If you look at the last maybe 3 to 5 minutes, she does something and then she's just gasping for air, laying there looking at the lights, and I'm like, you need to get up and show some emotion right now. And she's just breathing.
Yep.
And meanwhile, Rhea's like in pain, squirming, getting her shit over. And I'm like, you need to take advantage of that. And this ain't going to come again. So I can guarantee that they looked, anybody in charge there probably said, okay, she needs some work.
Yep.
Let's bring her back down. And then
there's going to be a major push evaluation here.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm all for it because of the size and everything else. But this just proved that she is just not ready. I don't know what her training looked like when she got there, and how much experience. Again, I don't know how much ring time she had prior to getting to WWE. So who knows? Because she's a bigger girl, so she may have walked into that tryout and they were like, "Yeah, she looks good." Yeah. That's as simple as that.
Here's your property of WWE T-shirt. Your locker room is back this way.
Exactly.
The main event. First of all, I think there's only like six matches on this card.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I really think we could have fit in a Gunther and Chad Gable match here.
Ooh, that would have been good. Yeah.
But Seth Rollins and Nakamura, I did not like it.
Yeah, me neither.
It was just like after we hit the 8-minute mark, it was just like, okay, this is going to be one of these long, dramatic, milked, slow ball rolling down the hill. Like it didn't do it for me. I actually didn't even finish it. Like I finished it, but I just paid no attention.
Yeah. This reminds me of, remember AJ and Nakamura worked at WrestleMania?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember Tibbs texted me after he watched the WrestleMania, and he said, which match did you like better, the Dome or the WrestleMania? And I said, the Dome. And then he said, me too. And he goes, why did it feel like this match was in slow motion? And I said, in WWE, not unlike in New Japan, they need that time for replays, dramatic storytelling by the commentators, the referees cueing these guys, stay down, slow down, give them a minute, they're getting something over. And it's really about the whole production, meaning commentators getting their spots in. So that means the boys got to learn to just stay small for a minute, or we're going back to the truck for 9 different angles of this fake looking kick.
And it kills your momentum.
And it kills the momentum. The crowd is exhausted. If these guys are lazy, we're all getting lazy, like that's what they're thinking. I can assure you, if this was a different ring, that the match style would be a faster pace because they wouldn't need all that. When in the New Japan style, is like the big dramatic sells are off huge moves that that the guys really need to recover from, but
Right.
it's not so many and it's not so often to where you, as a fan, were bored watching this shit and listening to commentators talk. And meanwhile, your eyes are on the action and the guys are just laying there because they're
Right.
told to just lay there. So that's unfortunately, I thought that this had potential to be one of the best matches, but the pacing of it so boring. It's so bad.
Do you think
But
that
that
they're like it seems weird to say, but like obviously we've seen other big main event matches with Seth Rollins and other guys that are, balls to the wall, and they still do the replays and everything, but it doesn't entirely kill the match. Why do I feel like they're booking Shinsuke Nakamura like this purposefully? You understand
yeah,
what
I
I'm
don't.
saying? It's like every
Yeah,
time he gets a shot, this is the kind of match they give him.
yeah. I feel like they think they're trying to help him. That's what I think. I think they're like, hey, let's go back to that replay and show how vicious this is. Um, I don't, and I believe, I don't, obviously, I don't know. That's like a Kevin Dunn call, right? Like, isn't he the one in charge of these type of cuts and angles and like all that stuff? Because I've heard the argument from like guys that know wrestling, like Dr. Tom or like um, guys like Cornette and them, that they're more like let the guys go, but
Right.
then he feels like, well, no, we want to do this, we want to do that because he's a production guy, So I feel like that whomever is in charge of that is really messing it up. I think in their mind they think that they're getting him over Nakamura by showing this stuff, but I don't. I don't know. I'm not. I think Nakamura doesn't really give a shit about WWE.
I
I
feel the
mean,
same way.
okay, so like he's lost that edge, he's lost that viciousness that did make him such a big deal. I don't know. I feel like he's just like, let's just get through this shit,
I almost feel like he's just ready to go home. Not go
Yeah,
home like go back to Japan, but to almost just be done.
yeah. He
You know
might
what I
be.
mean?
I mean,
And it's
he's
probably hard to be done when they're like, here, take all this money and then work for 3 minutes on TV.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, also this weekend, Rick, that about wraps up WWE Payback. But we had All Out live from the United Center, in Chicago, Illinois. Uh, I want to start off by saying I thought this card was awful.
Yes.
I thought nothing was built to. I thought that building was going to be empty. As of Saturday afternoon, I thought that building was going to be hostile. Um, and I need to say that I was pleasantly surprised by AEW this weekend.
Hmm.
The building was, from the angles they were showing, they were giving you like the 7/8 angle.
Yeah,
So it looked pretty full. And then there's just you could tell the hard cam side
yeah,
was like terribly empty. So
yeah,
they gave you like this camera angle, you know what I mean? And it
yeah.
was like, but the amount of people, they had a good amount of people in there.
I think they had like what, 12?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, well, when Punk made his return, there was 20 people, 20,000.
Yes.
So I'm assuming they blocked that stage and then some, and then the hard cam side.
Right.
So then they just crammed everybody. I mean, it was a lively crowd as you would expect, but yeah, I figured it was going to be around. I knew no more. There was without Punk there was no way they were going to get anywhere near 15.
Right.
So yeah,
But I did not watch any of the pre-show. I caught the end, the last 5 minutes of the Jeff Jarrett, Satnam Singh, and Jay Lethal versus the Acclaimed with Dennis Rodman.
What the fuck?
Right. Yo, man, Rodman broke this guitar over Satnam Singh's head.
Wow.
Yeah, and he swung it like he was swinging it at a thing that wasn't a person. Like he couldn't have swung that guitar any harder. And then he just never left the ring. So he stood there in the corner for like 3 minutes while they did the finish. Ridiculous. But anyway, the show started with Adam Cole and MJF versus Dark Order. So immediately, like, I'm like, it's the Dark Order, but it's John Silver and Alex Reynolds, so I know that they're gonna work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was a good little match. They did the deal where MJF hurt his neck, so they took him out. Adam Cole fought the whole match by himself, and MJF came back for the hot tag.
Oh, okay.
But it worked. Crowd was super into it, and obviously MJF and Adam Cole won. No more shenanigans with the who's turning or whatever. So it was like a straight up deal. And then they did Samoa Joe and Shane Taylor, which felt really, really super out of place. You familiar with Shane Taylor?
I've seen him a few. I mean, we've been in locker rooms together. Yeah. He's a bigger guy. I know they were trying to push him in Ring of Honor before Khan bought Ring of Honor. I think he had like a group or something.
Yeah, I think it was like Shane Taylor Productions or something.
Yes,
whatever.
that's what. Yeah, and it wasn't really getting over. I'm not sure what they were all angry about either, but they seemed to be quite upset about things. It was never perfectly clear to me. And when I have seen him in the ring, I think he needs a guy that can bump for him because he's too big. I mean, it's like two bowling balls pushing each other around in there with those two. So who's bumping, who's moving, I don't know.
Well, the answer was Joe was bumping.
Well, I figured, yeah.
But they had to go. I think it was under 10. It had to have been under 10 minutes.
Had to be, yeah.
It just wasn't appealing. There was nothing there that
Yeah.
I feel like they just took Shane Taylor, they put him on pay-per-view, and they never bothered being like, oh, this is who Shane Taylor is. You know what I mean?
Right.
And then he comes out and he's just like, he's got on the black singlet and the indie shorts, the pleather shorts, and he's got on the black indie boxing wrestling boots that everybody wears when they don't buy real boots, know. And I was just like, now this is what they're putting on pay-per-view,
right?
And expecting us to believe. And it's nothing against the guy or anything, but they're expecting us to suspend our disbelief that Samoa Joe won't eat this guy for fucking breakfast.
Correct. Yes.
And it didn't work. Doesn't work for me, brother.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. Especially pay-per-view. And I know that it was a big deal to him, to be, picked up by
kudos to him that he deserves. Like, give the man his flowers or whatever, but it just didn't work.
But now it's his. Now he has to step it up. You can't just say, "Okay, I'm good. I'm here," and I'll just keep doing what I'm doing. No, you can't. Like, there's layers to this business, and especially if you're going to be walking in the ring with Samoa Joe. Like, if you're a smaller guy that's going to be wrestling Joe, you want to be in shape, on point, ready to go, and ready to unleash because you're going to get your ass handed to you. And if you're a bigger guy, it's almost a challenge because Joe's one of the best big men ever. And you can think, well, he's probably going to move. So I'm going to show him that I can fucking move.
And he's going to make you earn it.
it's not going to be, oh, well, I'm bigger, so he can bump for me. That's not how this game is played. So, I mean, I know the guy. I'm not like friends. I mean, I'm high and by type shit, but to me, he's one of those guys that just wants to be there and then tell everybody that he's there,
Right.
because if you really wanted to be there and you're willing to do anything and everything for it, you'd have gotten the gym, you'd have gotten better shit. His body hasn't changed in years, and you would have got better gear, and you would have been looking at yourself like, what can I do to push this further?
Done literally anything different.
Yes, exactly. Like what can I fix? Like, when I was, when I was wrestling, that was my whole thing. Like, that's why I went to the gym every day. I ate what I ate and tanned and was always doing cardio and, shit I didn't want to do every day. I did every day. Like, I loved to do it, to where people were like, man, you're like, you're here every day. It's like, well, I don't want to be, but, you have to be. And
you fooled all of us on Twitter.
Yeah. But I mean, you have to do those things, because guess what? You have Shane Taylor, but then you have Hobbs, right?
Right.
I'll give you another example too. When we were in Lucha Underground, Willie Mack?
Yep.
Okay. So Willie Mack got signed by WWE.
Yep.
Okay. So he came to some of the Lucha Underground shows because he lives in Vegas, but he came down. He was doing some shows in LA. So he came down, and I remember John Morrison talking to him and was kind of giving him like some advice or whatever. And he said, well, when do you move? And he was like, oh, I don't know yet. And he goes, well, what have they told you? And he said, well, they haven't really told me anything. And then he goes, are they paying you? And he said, well, yeah. He goes, once I filled out my paperwork, my check came the next day. And then he goes, oh, all right. And that was kind of like where I exited because I didn't know what was happening. So I just left. Then guess who they signed at the next tryout?
Keith Lee.
No.
No.
Apollo Crews.
Oh.
Yeah. So guess who didn't end up moving to Florida?
Willie Mack.
Willie Mack. They were impressed by his size, his look, and that he could do a moonsault. Well, guess what Apollo Crews can do?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So what I'm saying is, if you think you're good and you're going to be there forever because Tony Khan's a nice guy, obviously that's not the case. We're learning now, but if you're Shane Taylor and you have this opportunity, it's going to slip through your fingers like it did the last time. Because why didn't the old Ring of Honor re-pick him up after his contract expired? Because they didn't want to do anything with him. So it's going to happen again, just on a bigger stage. But WWE's not going to come knocking because they're going to say, "Well, we saw it. It hasn't changed." So, I mean, that's just advice I give to anybody, really. I mean, you don't have a job. Okay, look at yourself in the mirror and figure out why don't I have the job? What am I doing wrong? And then fix that shit.
Next on this card was Luchasaurus with Christian Cage versus Darby Allin for the AEW TNT Championship. And it was exactly what you expected it to be.
Yeah.
And then Luchasaurus retained his title. But next was my favorite. My second favorite match of the night. So it was Powerhouse Hobbs and Miro.
Mm.
And those people in Chicago ate everything up.
Yeah.
They invented several new chants. Ricky, they were standing in the middle of the ring, trading lariats with nobody bumping. And every time they made contact, the people chant meat. So it's meat, 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 meat. And then a guy hits the ropes and it's, whoa, meat, right? And then there was a meat forever chant, and this is meat chant, a holy meat chant. But it started, dude. The way they locked up when the match started, it was like two fucking buffaloes running at each other. They had, there were points where it was like, this is kind of taking a downward turn, but then they picked back up. It was just, they were really, really physical.
Yeah.
Hobbs tapped out, which I didn't love.
To what? Oh, the camel clutch thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
But he fought. He was in it for. It was ugly. Like, he put him in it, and then Hobbs got out, and then Hobbs put him in it. It went back and forth.
Yeah.
And then when they finally went for the last one, the finishing one, like, he wasn't even all the way locked in, and Hobbs like jumped the gun on the tap, like it was sloppy, and you could tell that Miro, he was putting his head down to be like, "Don't go yet."
Yeah.
And
No.
it didn't come off great. The match was really good. Lana came out at the end of it, and she got a nice reaction from the crowd. And then after that was Claudio and Yuta versus Kingston and Shibata, which actually was a good tag match. Shibata brought something out of Kingston where, like, he just looked more professional than he normally does. You know what I mean? Like, the way by the way he was working, like, he was just like, he stepped his shit up. His chops in the corner didn't look like garbage. Like, his stuff, like, it all made sense. Shibata was fucking awesome. Claudio was awesome. Wheeler can hang. It was a good tag match. I had no problem with it. And then, this is going to sound weird. Omega and Takeshita had a really, really, really good match that I hated. And it was like, they went 30 minutes and they just did so fucking much. Like, so much. And they structured the match. That could have been 3 really good matches.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Over 3 different events.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have been a program where every match was different and you saw something new, and it could have been exciting and different every time. But they did it all here, and by like saying like they did everything, like they did everything multiple times.
Yeah.
You don't need to see 11 V triggers, right?
Right.
Takeshita does the goddamnedest Blue Thunder Bomb I've ever seen in my life. Ever in my life. Right? That should be an absolute finish. Like, when something
better than Chris Daniels?
Yeah.
The one that comes off ropes?
Yeah, better than Daniels, better than Generico's. It was just the way he moves with the way he moves the guy, it's like nothing I've ever seen.
Huh.
And when something looks that good and that believable, that's your finish, right? You don't let anybody kick out of that shit. Kenny kicks out of it, okay? They go up. He does one later in the match from the top rope. Kenny kicks out of it. It's just like, ugh. And then Kenny does the V triggers, but he does them also. And then the finish, he beat Kenny. He pinned Kenny after he hit one of the knees. So it's like you're both doing this. It was just, they did so much shit in that match that was fantastic, that there were so many things in there that they did that they didn't need to even do. They could have
Right.
just left out of the match. Like Kenny had him in the what is it at the deal where it's almost like a figure four, but you're pushing on the knee with your foot from the side.
Yeah.
Was
Yeah.
that
It's like a version of the Indian Deathlock. Yeah.
right?
I know what you're talking about.
So yeah, Kenny's got one, and then Takeshita kind of sits up, and it doesn't look good. And one of the guys I'm watching with it, who isn't even a wrestling fan, was like where is that supposed to hurt him? Like that's how sloppy it looked.
Wow.
And then they just start doing this like weird shit where they're slapping each other in the face.
Yeah, I know.
But it wasn't like stiff, like strong style slapping each other in the face.
Yeah.
It was like two bitches at the mall fighting in Piercing Pagoda.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was totally unnecessary. Didn't do anything for anyone of the match.
Right.
And they had so much shit like that in there that if they would have clipped some of that shit out, this match would have been. It's still going to be a 13-star, match of the year contender, but it could have been so much better, and it could have been better by being less, and it could have been 3 great matches instead of one really, really long, really good match that overstayed its welcome.
Well, that's this particular match would be a classic example on why you need structure,
Yes.
And people to listen to, because what you're saying, like, I understand. So you have to figure a guy like Dean Malenko is probably in the back then. The fuck are they doing back out there? Like, how come Dean isn't on top of these guys telling them, don't do all that stupid shit?
Like this match was, sorry, go ahead.
No, just like pick 1 or 2 cool things to do towards the end. Let's go 12 and make them want more. Like you could have did a whole, if you did 30 minutes bell to bell, that's insane, because you could have, like you said, shortened it down to 12 bell to bell, had a hot little angle because isn't Callis involved somehow?
Yes.
You could have tried to get him some more heat. People hate him. You want to add on to that. You could have had an easier match with the roll up for a finish, Kenny winning, Takeshita opening up and whooping that ass, Callis standing over him, dancing and, being a dick about it, adding more to this. And like you said, push this back to another pay-per-view, or in 4 weeks they meet on Dynamite. And then, by then you're building up to the next pay-per-view. Yep. So then they have the rematch, the third, whatever. I don't know. Like,
at like the 18-minute mark of this match, they had that building on its feet at a fever pitch, and then they kept going.
Yeah,
and everybody everybody literally sat down and looked tired. They completely burned the audience out.
That's those video game wrestler guys thinking that they can do all the moves all the time for the amount of time given. Like, who says that this match needed to go 30 minutes?
Right.
Like it's the first, okay, I know they met years ago, but it's the first time these two characters are meeting. It shouldn't have been anything near 50. It should have been over 10 minutes. Like, with how explosive of style of wrestlers those guys are, you tell the story that when you get caught with this shit, you go down for the count. Now, because it was so good and it was just getting good, and then an explosive knee strike to the face, boom, you're out for the count. 1, 2, 3, boom. Like, that's your story right there. It's like, I'll catch, okay, you caught me, and then the other one catches the other one, and then we go to 3, by the next pay-per-view. There should have been more. Should have been more story, less video game moves, and kicking out of every fucking thing is like the stupidest thing ever.
Yeah. Well, it's what it boiled down to, like they should have went home way before. They didn't. They could have kept bringing this, because now if they're going to bring it back again, they're going to go because in their eyes, to make it better, they're going to go longer and just do more, and
Right.
that's not going to do anything for anyone. But the thing that I think what suffered the most about it was the Bullet Club FTR Young Bucks 8-man was afterwards.
I saw that advertisement for that match pop up just like a couple days ago, even. Like,
Yeah.
that wasn't like a long build either, right? Because
No.
those teams didn't really make sense to me.
No, and I got to tell you, I needed, like, after that Kenny match, I needed like a 10-minute break. I wasn't into this. The sound was the Wi-Fi was cutting out, and basically it was a match. And in the finish, or getting into the finish, like one of the Bucks and one of the FTR, they did the big rig together, and then one of the Bucks and one of FTR, they did the double knee V trigger, being the whatever the fuck they call it together. So like they were like odd coupling, and then I don't know why the Cash Wheeler just gets beat like fucking. He gets beat like a dog. So they beat Cash Wheeler, and it was like, FTR was mad because the one of the Bucks was a second late making the save. It was stupid. The
Yeah.
whole thing was stupid. And then I should have just stopped watching after this, because next was Moxley and Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy got Shawn Michaels juice.
Ugh.
Okay, so he was just he got the teetotal shit beat out of him by John Moxley for about 10 minutes. Blew a nice comeback. Bled everywhere, and then Moxley just pinned him and took his belt and left. So that was really how that one ended. Moxley beat the absolute shit out of him. The absolute shit. And Excalibur was particularly unbearable through this show.
I'm sure.
So that was All Out. Any questions?
Nope, pretty much what I thought. I mean, I followed it along last night as much as I could, and sounded like a standard AEW pay-per-view, which was just the week before. So,
Right.
Yeah.
So, Ricky, what do you want to talk about?
Well, it happened. Were you expecting that?
Yes.
But were you
However,
expecting it that day?
No.
Yes. All
I
right.
was expecting the people of Chicago to maybe get their money's worth, and for him to give them. I was expecting Tony Khan to let Punk work in Chicago in front of the people that paid to see him.
Yes.
And then ride him off into the sunset.
I wasn't expecting him to be at the pay-per-view, but I was expecting the firing to be within the next, I don't know, couple weeks, to be honest. Like, I thought it would die down a bit, and then it would just be like CM Punk released, but I don't know.
Did you hear Tony Khan's statement?
I did. What's wrong with that guy, man?
Listen. I know he's got a lot of tattoos, and he's like the human version of the grumpy cat meme.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he had a knife, I don't know if I'd be scared for my life.
I don't know what they're afraid of exactly.
What is there, how can you be that afraid of another human being?
He was afraid for his life, and I don't know. Here's what I think. I think Tony Khan said that to play victim.
Yes. To babyface himself.
Yeah, because now everyone's a snowflake and doesn't want to hurt anybody, and we're all playing wrestling here. But the mean guy doesn't want to play right, so he fears for his life. And I don't know. I would never. I mean, I think we all know we would never hear Vince. I mean, we would never hear Vince say he feared for his life. Even when Brock slung the red belt at him, through Gorilla that one time. I remember Vince was like, "You fucking asshole," and then then everyone kind of waited, like, is he coming back? Instead of him screaming, "That could have ended my life,"
Right.
I don't know. In all seriousness, I feel like Tony Khan is one of those loyal friends, loyal to, to where it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt them in a big way, I think. I don't know. From a business perspective, even Tony Khan said since CM Punk got there, like how he increased everything across the board, much like Hogan did in WCW, so I just don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand. I mean, I'm not back there, so I don't really know what's going on. But from what everyone's putting out there, and you have to figure the sources are getting more and more reliable in some sense, because before you were a stooge if you talked to the news outlets, right? Now I think
a dick if you don't.
Yeah, exactly. Now I think they have people, or they have statements for those people now, to say, hey, say this, say that, here's what happened. And they're having people actually report what's going on. So, I mean, Dutch Mantel talked about it the other day. He said the only exciting stuff going on in AEW is what's happening, backstage. Yeah. And he says, I don't give a shit what they're doing in the ring. Like, I want to know who don't like who in the back, And it's true, because there's a bunch of kids with kids leading other kids, it's just, here's the thing, right? Here's what a lot of people may not understand about the Bucks and Omega is, although when they left New Japan, they were, the heavyweight champions in each division that they were in, singles and then tags, but they weren't the top guys there.
They didn't mean anything to the business there.
They didn't move the needle there like they think they did. Omega did his job in the sense of being that foreign threat for the 2-year run that they needed him to be. So he was just a spoke in the wheel. They were not shot callers there. They were not guys that when they walked in the locker room, everyone was like, buttholes tightened up a little bit, like, oh shit, the Young Bucks are there. That's never a line ever said anywhere, at any time, unless you're a mark, And I mean a mark in the sense of, I buy Young Bucks merchandise. I'm a fan. I think they're cool. Holy cow, that's them. Like, as a wrestler, like an Andrade or somebody, or Roosh or somebody, some of these guys that are like come up through the hard, ranks of scrapping and fighting and, trying to get your money for real. None of those guys respect them in the way of like, oh man, they're big time they're big time wrestlers. Like, none of them look at them that way,
Right.
So they were never top guys anywhere to understand how to be a top guy.
Also, not to mention the reason why they had to work for New Japan.
Right.
To begin with.
Right, because they had nowhere else to go. Nobody else wanted them. They weren't in a bidding war when it came down to, New Japan gave them good money, so they stayed there. And then Ring of Honor paid them good money as well.
After
to be part-time, but to be part-time wrestlers. Like, anybody would take that type of schedule. You mean 1 or 2 weekends a month and you're going to get 6-figure deal? Right. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and take that. because you don't have to do indies. You don't have to go here. You don't have to if you don't want to, you know? So they were only big time in their heads, you know, and that spilled over into this whole situation. And this is the effects of it. And we're seeing it right now, you know. Anybody like Austin, Taker, you know, Hogan's, anybody's going to look at these guys and be like, they don't know what they're doing there, you know. And Vince and those guys are probably just laughing their asses off, like they're making themselves look like idiots. They don't need the WWF, the WWE to make them look bad. They're doing it themselves.
Yep.
You know, I mean, this bullshit. I mean, bullshit happens in the back all the time. I get it, just not this consistent, not every week. You know, there's a reason for that. You know, and when it is that way, it's Brett punching Vince.
Right.
And it's because Vince is bowing up to Brett, like, all right, let's do it. Like, you got your shot. Get it.
Take it.
Yeah. It's not bickering. It's not pushing each other, shoving each other. It's not this, like, you know, unspoken, you know,
passive aggressive.
Yes, exactly. Like, it's none of that. You know, I mean, you have to understand what's going on there is it's not good. And you went from bringing back what a lot of people considered to be like probably one of the biggest stars in wrestling. You brought him back, grown ass man crying in the audience, 20,000 people there to see if maybe he's going to show up tonight. You know, to having 2 years later, he's not on the show, a pay-per-view. You got more tarps than you do fans in the crowd, you know, in the same building.
$1 million.
Yeah, in the same building. And, you know, it's I don't even know what to say. Every week there's something there, and it just irks me more and more and more.
Have we seen the last of CM Punk in AEW?
In AEW,
in WWE, everybody knows that you never say never there.
Right.
We don't really know a policy yet for AEW. Do you think there's a chance for the two sides to come back together?
I don't think Punk is going to play that game. Business needs to take a serious turn for the worse before those idiots, you know,
would even consider.
Say, hey, we need something, and the only person that could make a difference would be this guy. But I don't think that they would ever think that. I think that they firmly believe in their Meltzer reported ratings that they are the big shit. Like, I really do. I think that they smoke their own stuff, and they think that they are that good. So we'll see.
I get annoyed because, like, they've gone out of their way to avoid trying to sit down with CM Punk.
Yes.
And to fix everything. And then as soon as they know he's not coming back and they don't have to be scared or look over their shoulder, the Bucks are literally in the ring in Chicago taking a victory lap. Kenny Omega, did you see the video of him from their little YouTube show where he drinks a Pepsi and he's like, ooh, this is bitter, and freaks out?
No, but that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, they can't wait to take a shot at him. None of them have the fucking balls to stand up and actually say anything about him and let his name come through their teeth. Right? It's tactless, it's classless.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you had the chance to be a man about it, you ain't said shit.
Right.
But now that you know the coast is clear and he's not coming through the corridor behind you.
Oh yeah.
You want to run your it's infuriating. It's infuriating that apparently this whole Jungle Boy situation was somebody came up to CM Punk and was like, hey, we told him not to use the glass. Do you think maybe you can go over and talk to him? Right? So since the boss can't nut up himself to go and get something done, he fucking bred this situation by sending CM Punk to go do somebody from the office's job. Okay? And again, when he knew there was an issue, he booked the card order at All In the way he booked it because he's fucking stupid. All right? And it's just like, what did they expect was going to happen?
Yeah.
And then you come to hear that there was supposed to be a meeting, or that
Yeah.
Punk was told there was going to be a meeting,
Yeah.
and the Cucamonga contingent had no intentions of going to the meeting.
Right.
So he was probably all fired the fuck up to begin with.
Right.
I feel like
Yeah.
they're constantly poking the bear.
Okay. Yeah.
And then when something happens, they all go, I don't understand why.
Yeah, like little brothers and sisters. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't do anything.
Right.
When I hear my son crying, the very next thing I hear is my daughter saying, I didn't do anything. They could be in different sides of the universe, but the one thing always follows the other.
Right. Right.
Which, when you're dealing with children, is one thing.
Exactly. That's what we're
dealing
doing.
with grown men.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they act like children. They have a childlike mentality of because that's all that they know. That's what I'm saying. Like, they weren't big time anywhere, so they don't understand what they're supposed to be doing.
What do you think of the odds of CM Punk going to the WWE are?
Well, I'll tell you what. I feel like it wasn't a coincidence. Remember, he showed up at one of the shows? Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like, and Punk's a pretty smart guy, so I feel like he said, my time here is limited. Let me go poke my face around. Let them know I'm not here to harm or, no foul, no harm. I'm just going to walk around, smile, shake hands, and then we'll just go from there. So I feel like that was a seed that was planted. Austin walking away was a much bigger deal. Other than that, I mean, I'm sure it's doable, but both sides are going to have to bend.
You know what I think?
What?
I think Forbidden Door is going to be really weird next year when Punk's the IWGP Heavyweight Champion. That's going to be awful.
Maybe. I mean, I could see him going there. Yeah. That would be fun.
Bro, think about it. What's going to sell out the dome bigger than that?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if he still has that wrestling itch, I could totally see him doing that. And as far as going back to WWE, that's the real big question. People are already talking about this Rumble or making a run in at Mania in Philadelphia, but I mean, I don't know.
You know what would help our viewership ratings?
Huh?
Somebody, reached out to an old friend to see if we could get an exclusive, but
yeah.
Actually, the last one of his friends that helped him out with that got a little bit sued, right?
Yeah. Me and my mom don't share a bank account. Just me and my wife. So
right.
I think I'm in the clear.
You should be good.
He might answer my call.
Well, you got anything else you want to talk about tonight?
No, I think we covered a good amount, because there was way too much shit going on. That's for sure.
All right. What I wanted to do when I had started looking up this week was seeing how many times Dynamite was repeating in markets, or how many times AEW was repeating in markets.
Oh,
and then I realized we had the 2 pay-per-views, and they fired CM Punk, and I was like, we're never even going to get to that. So
right.
I stopped looking into that. Maybe I'll continue that research, and that's something we can jump into a little bit next week.
Yeah, I'm interested in that in a big way, because they have put a heavy strain on Chicago for the past couple of years. So.
And where is Garland, Texas?
Garland?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Because they're overworking that bitch too. It's just what I was noticing from my notes.
Garland?
They love coming to Texas.
Huh. Well, I know they did Laredo and San Antonio. I don't know. I'd have to check that. Might be near Dallas, I guess. Maybe. I don't know.
All right, well, you get a map.
I'll
I'll
figure
get
it
a
out.
haircut.
Yeah.
Kyle go to E. And the Motherfluxxers can jump in with us next weekend because, Ricky, we are out of here, and I am going to run the gimmick. Later.